Welcome to Logic versus Emotions, where we explore the space between what we know and what we feel. I'm your host, Solace, and I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of healing, growth, and truth. Whether you are single, dating, married, committed, or in between stages, you are welcome here. This podcast is for those who want to better themselves, not just for a partner, but for the person in the mirror. Welcome back, beautiful people, to another episode of Logic versus Emotions, the podcast where we try to make sense of the madness that happens when our brains say one thing and our hearts say another. I'm your host, Solace, your friendly neighborhood emotional translator, here to help you discover, embrace, and submit to the truth about love, healing, and relationships. Now, listen, today's topic, this one's personal. We're talking about communication, or as I like to call it, the reason half of us are side-eyeing our partner during dinner. Because somewhere between what we said, what they heard, and what we meant, there's a whole lot of translation errors. So grab your tea, your notes, and maybe your partner, but only if y'all promise to behave. Because today we're tackling lost in translation, when love speaks in bullet points. And to kick it off, let me tell you a story about how I realized my fiance might actually be bilingual. I kid you not. I think he's fluent in bullet point. When I say he's fluent in bullet point, I mean this man communicates like he's giving a PowerPoint presentation at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. No warm-up, no small talk, just slide 1, my expectations. Slide 2, my boundaries. Slide 3, don't negotiate my needs. Sir, where's the discussion section? Where's the emotion? Where's the pie chart of how you feel? When your partner is fluent in bullet point, conversations sound like system updates. You ask, how are you feeling about us? And they say, processing, stable, end of report. You're sitting there trying to talk about hearts, and they're giving you firmware updates. Fluent in bullet point means every sentence over 5 words is emotional excess. If I say, babe, let's talk about our future, my partner will respond, committed, together, finances balanced. Like, sir, I was looking for dialogue, not a tweet. Here's another example. When your partner's fluent in bullet point, your love language is efficiency. You don't say, I miss you. They say something like, noted, absence acknowledged. I'm out here writing sonnets, and he's replying like a project manager. See, I speak in feelings. He speaks in summaries. I'm over here writing poetry, and he's over there sending meeting notes. We love each other deeply. We just need a translator and maybe a shared Google Doc. Shall we run it back and tell you how it all happened? So, we're in couples counseling, and our question for this session was, what are our expectations for our marriage? We worked over these questions for 2 weeks. When we get back to the next session, he looked me dead in my eyes and said, commitment, no ultimatums, no negotiating my needs, no unilateral decisions. 4 bullet points, people. 4. Meanwhile, I roll up in a session like, here's my 2-page color-coded chart with expectations, explanations, footnotes, and supporting documentation. That's the moment I realized we love each other, but we don't think the same. Those that know me know I pulled out my notebook and I'm like, okay, but what does that look like in practice? He responded exactly what I said. Sir, we've got a full sentence here with no verbs, no adjectives, and definitely no explanations. I'm sitting here trying to decode it like it's the book of Revelation. And he's looking at me like, Why are you making this so complicated? He's fluent in bullet point. I'm fluent in emotional paragraph. We speak different dialects of love. If you've ever asked your partner to explain themselves and somehow left the conversation more confused than when you started, this episode is for you. Today, we're diving into what happens when two good people with good hearts speak different languages of logic and emotion, and how to build a bridge between short and structured and deep and detailed. So, here's the thing. One of us communicates to inform, and the other communicates to connect. Neither is wrong, but when we don't understand the difference, we start assigning negative motives. He's cold. She's too sensitive. He doesn't open up. She won't let it go. But in reality, we're both just trying to be understood in the language that feels most natural to us. Biblically, Proverbs 18, verse 2 says, "A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion." Now, that verse isn't calling anyone a fool. It's just saying when we only want to be heard instead of understood, we stop listening to learn. Here's what's really going on underneath. The bullet point partner values clarity, efficiency, and stability. They see communication as a roadmap. No detours, no scenic routes, just directions. The emotional paragraph partner, that's me, values context, connection, and meaning. I don't just want directions. I want to know why we're going that way, what the view looks like, and how you feel about the trip. Both have purpose. One builds structure, the other builds intimacy, and marriage needs both. The problem comes when we don't translate. When he says, "No ultimatums," I hear, "I don't want to feel pressured." When I say, "I need clarity," he hears, "You're not doing enough." So our hearts get lost in translation. Not because we don't care, but because we're not decoding the language of love being spoken to us. The book of James, chapter 1, verse 19 says, "Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger." That's God's communication blueprint. It's not be quiet. It's listen to understand. Listening isn't passive. It's patient investigation. So, for couples like us, here's what we're working on, and maybe you all are too. Developing mutual understanding. Don't just hear the words, listen for the why. Adapting our communication styles. Sometimes the bullet pointer needs to give one extra sentence. Sometimes the paragraph partner needs to summarize. We're both growing here. Bridge the emotional gap. Meet in the middle. Clarity wrapped in compassion. And then lastly, conflict resolution through translation. So, instead of saying, "You're not listening," try this. "I'm not sure I understand what you mean yet. Can you help me connect with your intent?" And listen, if Jesus could translate eternal truth into parables about seeds, sheep, and fig trees, you can translate "I need space" into something your partner can receive with love. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29 says, "Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers." That means our words should give grace, not grief. Communication is ministry. Every conversation is a chance to build or break. So the next time your partner gives you bullet points, don't get mad. Just say, "Okay, PowerPoint, but can you read me the notes section too?" And if you're the bullet pointer, remember, Sometimes the paragraph isn't over talking, it's just love explaining itself. And remember, love doesn't always need a translator. Sometimes it just needs a pause, a prayer, and a little bit of humor. I realized something from these therapy sessions. Sometimes love doesn't come wrapped in the perfect words. Sometimes it comes in bullet points, in silence, in effort, in trying again, even when you both misunderstood each other the first 5 times. That's real communication, not perfection, but persistence. So, if you and your partner are struggling to understand each other, don't lose hope. You're not broken, you're just learning each other's accent. As Proverbs chapter 25 verse 11 says, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pitchers of silver. That means the right words at the right time are priceless. And with patience, prayer, and practice, you'll find your rhythm. All right, family, if today's episode made you laugh, think, or gave you hope for your own translation issues, do me a favor. Like, share, and send it to that couple you know is currently arguing through emojis. And remember, every love story has its own language. The goal isn't to sound the same, but to understand each other's hearts. This has been Logic versus Emotion, Lost in Translation, when love speaks in bullet points. Until next time, discover, embrace, submit.